good, everybody? It's your boy PsydeShow along with Austin. Today we are missing Chad, unfortunately, but he has big boy things to do. We're gonna be this is the Devil's Work podcast, by the way. The podcast where we watch fucked up movies and tell them back to you, so you ain't gotta watch them, but you should. And today we are covering a very, very fun one. I was so happy for this guest to be here. We're covering 19, oh my God, what year was it?
78.
1978.
Yeah, 78.
1978 film called Magic. And this is what better way to do this movie than with an actual magician on the show. So Matt, please tell the people hello.
Hi. Matt Felton. I'm a professional magician, also a teacher. I teach magic at
So cool.
USC. And before that, I did Shakespeare for a really long time. I worked for a rep Shakespeare company. So actor. I'm also a clown. I got a clown tattoo
I love it,
here
dude.
as
It's
well.
so
So a Buster Keaton tattoo, everything. Yeah. Just
no
I say I'm a
cool.
make believer pretty much.
Yeah, we met at a party recently, and like it was, I mean, we hit it off so well just because of our like I as soon as I saw you were with the deck of cards, I was like, gotta talk to this man. Gotta talk to this guy. And yeah, we had a great conversation about just our love of magic and the craft and like everything involved around that. And that was such a fulfilling conversation for me because like I said, I grew up loving magic. I grew up so fascinated with like misdirection. And this movie in particular has a way of like essentially just showing all of that in a beautiful light and like a way that those like it shows so much respect for the craft of magic and even ventriloquism and everything. And like I like what you're saying before we started recording that they're so like linked in like
Yeah,
their
they're
history. It's so
intertwined.
cool.
Like there's a deep history of ventriloquism in magic, in that like, and especially around the 1800s, there was this guy named Antonio Blitz who was one of the first like comedy magicians ever.
Wow.
Most magicians, they were, the gentlemen, and they had big apparatuses and things like that. And he did
Yeah.
have all of that too, but he started to do more comedy in magic, and like bringing people up and pulling absurd things out of their hats and things like that, like
Wow.
pancakes out of a lady's hat. And then when he learned, he started practicing ventriloquism, and that worked so well. And he had a dummy named Bobby, I think was the name of it, that
Wow.
would say crass things. It was like, just like modern ventriloquism now, kind of. And that was in the 1830s, I think he was performing. And
Wow.
that just reminded me so much of this, because in the beginning of this movie, you see all the old magic
Yep.
posters, and he's going up doing rising cards and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that thing. I just, it says like a ventriloquist goes mad or whatever, and a puppet, as the
Yeah.
puppet takes over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going, why is this called magic? And then obviously I go, oh damn, he's a magician.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Then there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of old nods to that, which was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. The movie does an amazing job with like just presenting their love of this craft and this art form, and then like playing with that. Just like a lot of the movies that we love covering on this show, like again, horror is an outlet for people to explore things in different ways and to show things in different lights and such like that. So it's very cool to see something that I loved growing up and treated with so much respect in this film, you know? But
Yeah, yeah. It
but
was,
yeah,
and you can
I
see like
want
Anthony
to.
Hopkins loved it, and like
Yeah.
really
Oh,
studied like everything. Because there's a scene where
yeah,
they're where him and the female actress, the lead female, are like trying to find each other's cards. And
yeah.
there's something really cool that I noticed, that the way he spreads the deck is very
Hmm.
skillful, and she just kind of pads it out like that.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
when he goes to cut the cards, he like riffles up the back with his hand, and she very awkwardly does it. And they really made a
Yep.
point of showing how skillful he is with cards as a magician, and how he would handle them
Hmm.
versus how she would handle them.
Yeah, he
And
seems like he's seasoned in this movie. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he did the work.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like he actually did learn ventriloquism for this, and you can see he absolutely knows how to shuffle the cards
I,
with one hand and everything.
I was gonna say there's no way he didn't like dive all into the ventriloquism, because like no part of that felt like staged or fake. Like I was so impressed when he was talking. Like you could see just enough of the throat moving, and I
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
even
like,
the
there
tongue
ain't
behind
no
the teeth.
way.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Super fun. So I'm gonna give a synopsis for the movie before we get into it. So Corky, Sir Anthony Hopkins, excuse me, a failed magician, adopts a new ventriloquist act with an abrasive dummy named Fats, and suddenly finds himself lined up for a television show. When the unbalanced Corky fears he won't pass the required mental exam, he runs away with Fats to his hometown where he meets an old love from high school, Peggy. Corky persuades Peggy to leave her loveless marriage, but Fats, who seems to be taking on a mind of his own, doesn't approve of the relationship. So it's a long-winded synopsis, but but I think that is pretty much the entire movie right there. Like, it's a classic, man.
I do want to say right off the bat, I was so impressed because this movie has been like on my watch list for just years. Like I don't even want to like
brought it to the table.
I was so happy, and I was just like, yes, we're finally doing it. I have a reason to watch it.
Yeah.
And like for 78, I was expecting like a dated movie, and like the way this movie's made, like it looks like it's from the 70s, but like I could see this movie just being made now. So much of this movie feels so real. But there's one thing that sticks out, and that's like whoever leads Fats and Corky with the love interest Peggy, and then her husband's name is like Paul, and I'm like, all right, there it is. That's like the only thing about this movie that feels really 70s. Feels like you're in like Deliverance with like a banjo playing, and we got good old Peggy down by the river with Paul.
Yeah, Corky was a weird choice for the name of the character. The name, I'm like, really? Corky?
Yeah. Okay. I know. It's like, how am I supposed to take it seriously?
Yeah.
And then the murders happen.
I was gonna say, and then like it's played so straight, and then that card scene where you first, I mean, he's kind of off. It felt very much like the Joker, like the 2018 or 19 movie Joker
snap moment.
And he's just like, there's like that hard snap, and you're just like, oh, okay, here's the movie.
Yeah, for sure. This was Anthony Hopkins's like original take on Joker. Before there was a Joker.
This felt to me a lot like this is like a crazy string of words together, but I promise I'll try to make it make sense.
You always manage.
This felt like if like you show an incel the movie Pearl and he hates it, you just show him this movie and he'd probably be like, yeah, this movie's dope. And I'm like, bro, it's the same movie, just gender swapped.
Yeah.
He wants to be a star.
Yeah. Wow, that's fucking incredibly accurate.
That is for incels.
Really good. Wow,
that's amazing, dude. But I mean, I don't really have and that's the thing for like trigger warnings, which we usually do. I only have like really 2, and then one jokey one. But I have portrayal of mental illness, and I guess that could definitely be. It doesn't seem like cartoonish. It doesn't seem offensive.
It's a movie about mental illness portrayed in the 70s, which just is inherently in bad taste 90% of the time. So I mean, it's just a product of the 70s.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have portrayal of mental illness, domestic unrest, because I don't think violence technically fits in, because all he does is just throw her on the bed. But there's definitely a lot of tension in a domestic situation. And quippy one-liners.
This movie's really tame, like surprisingly tame for how much tension there is, because there is so much tension that I'm like, I feel like I'm watching somebody getting gutted, but it's just 2 people playing with cards.
Yeah,
and I was so impressed.
That scene was so intense. The music too, the score for this was really good.
Yeah, you mentioned that too, and the music is phenomenal, dude. I love the way of course, that old school score that just really brings this grandiose feeling to like these moments of terror and stuff. Like very, very fun instrumentation going on. I loved it.
But speaking of quips, you said my favorite quote from this entire movie, and which Burgess Meredith also being the agent, awesome. He's the trainer from Rocky, and the comically long cigars.
Oh. He always tosses them to the side to the glass vial.
Just shatters the glass. But like when he walks into his office the first time, and he goes to he's walking past the secretary, and he says like, hey, what's the first rule of being an agent? And she goes, never forget that an actor killed Lincoln.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
That was my favorite line in the whole movie. Never forget that an actor killed Lincoln.
It's so good, dude. The dialogue is really quick too. I love that the way that they deliver the dialogue. It's so much fun. That's what I'm saying. It feels like those old school movies. Like that, like it just feels like theater, really, a lot of the time.
Yeah,
really feels like
And
theater.
that's why I'm glad immediately you were like, Chad would have loved this one, because like that line right there, that scene you were talking about, and same with like a couple other things he says, like he was talking about like what was it, like consumption economics or something. Like he just
Yeah.
there's so
Oh,
many
yeah.
little one-liners that get thrown out there, and I'm like, oh, Chad was smirking at that one. Oh,
Yeah.
Chad was laughing at that one. Like there's so much theater to this. There's so much like
Yeah.
stage. Like it feels like they're just like pushing the stage to a new set. Like I
Yeah, there's
love that so
rotating the
much.
set.
Yeah, I loved it so much, and I'm like, Chad adores this movie, and I'm so
Yeah.
happy for him that he finally gets to be happy with a movie. It's very rare.
we'll,
I
we'll
love
speak
him.
for him. We'll speak for him on
Yeah,
this one.
we will
Yeah.
speak through him. I am the ventriloquist dummy.
Exactly.
Chad is Anthony Sir Hopkins off to the side. That's why the green screen's here.
Oh man. All right. So let's get into it then. I found this one on Shudder right now.
Yeah.
I streamed it. I don't know where you guys caught it.
It's on Tubi, it's on Prime, it's on Shudder.
Okay.
I think it's on
Yeah.
Peacock as well.
Oh,
Peacock,
cool,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, as of this recording, if that sounds good, go check it out. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this movie, but it is a great time. I really cannot recommend this movie, and I think for all of us here, we all recommend this movie.
Absolutely. I'm adding this to my Halloween list. Like,
Yeah.
This is a
Gotta watch-
yearly
this is
movie
going
that
on
I
there.
will watch.
Absolutely. This will go back
Yeah.
and back and back.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely a new rotation film. All right, so let's go. The film begins with an old sickly man lying in bed, who we will come to know as Merlin. His protege Corky returns from a night out to give him his medication, and to tell him about how his first stage act went. Merlin lauds him for being an exceptional magician, particularly skilled with a deck of cards. As Corky recalls the show, he tells him how well the evening went and that everyone was especially swept away by the Rising Aces trick. But as the events are displayed for us, we see that his act went terrible. The crowd was barely even paying attention, talking over him and being disruptive, which makes him visibly nervous. Merlin sees right through the facade, and Corky admits to blowing up at the audience on stage. Merlin tells him he needs to use his charm on stage and to talk to people. And I was like, man, how much did you identify with that one?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So one of the first big gigs I had was at the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta.
Wow.
And I was in one of the first rooms. So you would be in this big snaking line outside for probably an hour. And then finally you'd get let into your first air conditioned room. And it was just this big empty room that had some large bottles that were designed by artists for when the Olympics were back in Atlanta.
Oh, crazy.
And so there was nothing else to do. And so I was hired as with some other actors through this other theater company to entertain people while they're waiting. And so I was the entertainment for this room. And I kind of wheel in. I look like a Coca-Cola delivery person. I had this cart and wheel in there. There's a little timer behind me that lets them know how long they're going to be in the room before they go. And the timer's at like 10 minutes. And so I stand up on my cart. I borrow a coin from somebody, and the effect is that I'm going to put this coin in a balloon. I even have them sign the coin, and they see it go in and all that. But on this particular day, it's the first effect that I have. I get up and I blow up the balloon, and I go to like get the coin to go in, and all of a sudden everything just deflates right in my hand. It's not supposed to at all.
Oh,
and
no.
I held something wrong, and it was just, but literally the moment and the magic just deflated. And I was very new to performing, and I didn't have a backup or anything. And so I just looked at the audience and said, sometimes magic doesn't work. Let me move on to something else, and let me see if I can save this. And it's a quiet room, except for one dude in the back goes, "Good luck." And as I turn around to get something else out of the cart, I look at the timer, and it's at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. I still have. There's nowhere I can go.
That's so funny because it comes back around in the end of this movie too.
Oh, yeah, it does. And so when he was bombing on stage, I was just like, "I feel you, man." And I wanted to yell, but I couldn't. I just my act went back into the hall and was like, never doing that trick again.
Oh man, that's wild. Yeah, because I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, and it's not even just to magicians. I was like, I've played that show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like any open mic sort of event, that's exactly what you're going to experience.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that
Yeah.
lady's laugh too. The one who's just
Yeah.
great.
It was the
Yeah.
editing in the scene. Like, as much as I'm not a performer, I have really bad panic attacks. I just get
Yeah.
them out of nowhere, and I've had them for like 20 plus years. So it's more just like something that I'm just used to. But when I see it portrayed in most movies, I'm just like,
Feels bad.
okay, yeah, it's like seeing someone do acid in a movie. It's like, whoa, it's like, that's calm down. But like, it's not that deep.
Yeah,
It's not that deep.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the way they like spliced like his, like when his temperament flared and he's screaming, but it's pitch silent.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
those cuts to like the woman laughing and like the overstimulation of the room where no one's looking at him, but everyone's screaming. And like he's doing this from his like hindsight as he's talking to Merlin.
Yeah.
So it's like that like secondhand embarrassment you get after the fact, which is
yeah.
worse than the initial panic attack.
Yeah.
And I was like 2 minutes into this movie, I was just like, all right.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh,
Ow.
cringe. The fucking cringe. I was like, oh. And then it's Anthony Hopkins, so of course it's going to be great, but I haven't actually seen a lot of his older work. So it was weird because, like, you know how like Robert De Niro, they de-aged him in The Irishman.
God, yeah, that was so
I was so not used to seeing him like probably in like his mid to late 20s, where I was just like, did they
Playing
like
a Roman god or something like that?
Yeah.
That's all he plays now. Emperor
It looked like
god, that's it.
Yeah.
It looked like they like airbrushed his skin though. Like my brain couldn't process that he was young at one point in his life. I'm like, I grew up, the first time I saw him was as Hannibal Lecter. So I was just like, you were always in your 40s.
Yeah. Perpetually 40 for sure. Yeah. And then you get like startled by a new image of him on his social media.
Yeah. It's like, this is AI.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. Okay. So we cut to see a packed line outside the theater with Corky's face plastered on posters as a big wig from NBC named George gets out of the car and heads inside to meet Ben Green, Corky's cigar chomping manager. Ben tells him that he's invited him out to see a magician act that he wants to pitch for a TV show. He says magic is misdirection, and misdirection is getting people to look at the wrong place at the right time. So naturally, magic has had a little trouble on the tube because you can't misdirect a TV camera. I love that line of dialogue. Like, and then weirdly enough, I did not expect the manager to be one of the best parts of this movie, but like, he genuinely is. I was like, oh, what? And it starts off with this little bit of dialogue, like these little hints. I'm like, he knows so much and has been around. He's just an old agent, so he's seen it all at this point. And
he mentions that he even saw the death of vaudeville.
Yeah.
Lines there where you go, wow, okay.
Of course, yeah, exactly. You're just like, Jesus, you've been around. So, I love that bit. So, Corky walks on a stage and begins his act with the Rising Aces trick, but seems to fail halfway through. And suddenly, he's heckled from someone in the audience and tells him if he can come up on stage if he thinks he can do it better. And we're then introduced to Fats, his foul-mouthed ventriloquist dummy who we realize everyone is actually here to see.
Which also, at that moment, this is a cool thing about this movie that I liked, where you don't know if it's a haunted doll type thing, because when he does when the voice happens, everyone looks to the back of the room.
Yep.
And so the voice is coming from back there, but he's a ventriloquist. So you're going, okay, did he discover real magic? Like, we get this little hint, maybe.
Literally.
All throughout the movie, too. That was my favorite, like, suspense in this movie, is that, like, when there'll be scenes later on where they'll put Fats in a case and you hear the muffle through the case. And it's like, so he's not covering his mouth. Like, is he just that talented? And then there's like,
to do that, you know,
it was so impressive from like the going in blind standard of it, because I was expecting just a haunted doll movie. And the whole time I'm like, they're playing it so straight. This is great, because I didn't want a haunted doll movie from Anthony Hopkins. But then at that very tail end, they twisted on you and they're like, well,
straight up. Okay, that's what. I want to talk about it when we get to it. But that was so cool. I love how the movie just like definitely teeters that line between a haunted doll movie and psychological trauma. You know what I mean? I really love they do so well, because it's also like he's not always manipulating the dummy by himself. So when he has it in the room, it's not moving its mouth, it's not moving anything, but you still hear the voice. I love that. It's so fun because you're like, is it a haunted doll? And then there's one, kill later on, and it's like, definitely for a second, you're like,
Oh, I
Oh
was totally
shit.
in. I
Yeah.
thought, and I
Yeah.
thought we went full haunted doll.
Yeah, for sure.
Thought we
Exactly.
did.
Yeah. It is so fun. It's such a fascinating little movie. And then yeah, I want to talk about the design real quick before I even move on. The design
Oh
of
yeah.
Fats is so fucking cool. I love the dark hair. He reminds me of the Goosebumps dummy
It's
like a
Slappy.
lot. Yeah, Slappy. There
Yeah.
you go. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
But
the
they
first
had the
thing I
same
thought of.
haircut. Him and Anthony Hopkins had the same haircut throughout the movie.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then there's that one scene later on where he looks a lot like
They're,
him.
yeah,
Like,
same.
oh,
Costume designs were solid in this movie.
absolutely, absolutely. Everything about the movie is impressive. So, speaking of impressive, this impresses George, and he agrees to meet with Corky. And he asks Corky how he pulled off the card trick on stage. Bats tells him, "I'm the misdirection dummy. While we're goofing off, you can bring an elephant on stage," which is how Ben convinces him it'll be a successful show. Camera watches the puppet and not Corky's hands. Ben lays out the whole plan to fast track him to fame, and when he's done, Fats tells him, "You know what I think? We're gonna be a star." We can see a concerned look wash over Corky's face before the scene ends. And I love that little hint of that, where it's like that is cool because it is all just him. It's an internal push and pull of like
Yeah.
being scared of fame and what comes with that, and then also just always grinding for that, like trying to reach
Hmm.
that, and then it's also being like too afraid to actually reach that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting, very interesting. Like this movie is just incredible, endlessly fascinating. I love it. So we see Ben and Corky sitting down for lunch to discuss a deal with the network to greenlight a pilot episode for his show. But the catch is that he's going to have to take a medical exam. And this immediately makes Corky nervous, and he says he won't do it based on principle. Ben is confused, and Corky further explains that he only ever did a handshake deal with him to represent him out of principle as well. So if they're happy with each other, their word should be enough. And he admits, "They're trying to say something is wrong with me." And Ben says he'll see what he can do.
This moment is another one that made me go like tilt towards haunted doll. And the
Hmm.
reason
Yeah.
why is because at first, the old magician dies.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily know why. And now all of a sudden he's a big star. And so, and I thought,
Yeah.
okay, maybe he made a deal with the devil or something like that.
Yeah,
So is there
yeah.
some kind of a physical sign on him
Like
that
a
they don't want to find?
Faustian bargain. Yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
also that he wouldn't sign the agent's contract. So maybe it's like you can never sign any other contract except for this one that gave you these
Interesting, the
powers.
powers and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
what, yeah.
I'm going like, why is he so particular? Is there a mark on him now because he killed the old magician and like stole some power? Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
because they don't
moment,
say anything about it. They just say that Merlin died. Like
he
that's it.
just died.
He just
And
died.
yeah,
And then
we don't know
it
what happened to
cuts.
his wife either.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
going, okay, did he steal something, some kind of an old power, or did he
Hmm.
make a deal and had to sacrifice the old magician to get this? And
Yeah,
why
yeah.
won't he sign documents? That's strange. So yeah, that threw a little sprinkle of that. Like, is there something demonic in this movie?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
It
It definitely.
that's I felt that too though for the same reasons, but also in the inverse. Like we touch on his family later on, and we find out that he doesn't have much of it left,
Yeah,
due to
yeah.
death and other reasons. And that was it. Just kind of clicked as you two were talking about that right there, because I'm like, is that an element too? Like, we see flashbacks of his childhood. They die mysteriously. He meets the Smerlin guy, dies mysteriously, and this whole time he's like rising these ranks. And I'm just like, is this? Are we gonna do like Crazy Man because it's the 70s and mental health equals Crazy Man, like Psycho or something? Or are we gonna do
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
like a Haunting of Connecticut PG-13 situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's so cool. I love the way that yeah, it's and that's the thing. It speaks to both a strong script and the fact like Anthony Hopkins' acting ability. Like
Yeah.
literally
Mhm.
like both of those things combined make this such a fucking interesting like film.
Mhm.
So after sitting down with lawyers and the network all morning, he calls Corky to tell him that they can't budge if he won't take the medical exam. Corky gets upset and hangs up. Ben calls him back to level with him and tells him that he knows he's afraid of success, but he should believe in himself and go for it anyway. He says that he's going to meet to talk in person and to stay where he is, but Corky freaks out and leaves with a couple of suitcases in hand. He takes a taxi out of the city and stops at a graveyard to visit what I can only assume is his father's grave. We see a flashback to the funeral as his mother tosses flowers into the grave, and he wipes the condensation from the window as we see an empty graveyard, which I thought was a really cool flashback. That was just really interestingly filmed.
Yeah. And well, very understated, but still told everything that I needed to know.
100%. Yeah, I didn't even know it was like, that's what I'm saying. I got the context right away of him looking at the family and around the
there's a lot of this movie that is just that scene that you're talking about right there, like the last kill of the movie, like that less is more mentality of just a hard cut. Something drops and you're like, oh, okay, so I'm stupid. You got me. This is literally the movie, the editing equivalent of like Houdini just like waving a handkerchief and then a rabbit appears.
It's misdirection.
You're 100% right.
The directing is magic, like in this movie, like as the highest compliment, but also literally.
Which also this scene with the family where he's revisiting everything. The cabbie's got a great line right there. Where he says to him, he's like, "Oh, you don't got much family left?" He's like, "No, not much left." He goes, "Oh, you're lucky. I got 4 brothers. They're all assholes." Yeah. And then that's the line that takes the scene out. I was like, what a great, like, you could tell Irish New York family living with all his brothers. Hey, these knuckleheads. God.
For sure. So good. So he finally arrives at a lakeside cabin resort owned by his high school crush, Peg. The two remember each other immediately, but don't let on right away. Once she lets him settle in, we hear Fats' voice from the suitcase, and Corky takes him out. The two pay a visit to Peg, and Fats breaks the tension by saying, "And you thought she didn't remember you." They share a laugh, and Corky takes Fats back to the cabin before going back to the house for dinner with Peg. The two open up about their feelings for each other, and Peg admits being in a loveless, on-again, off-again relationship. Corky returns to the cabin, and Fats asks when they're going to be moving on, and he tells him he doesn't know, but it should only be a few days. We have a little moment by the river the next day. Corky is walking with Peg and showing her a few tricks. When she says she loves magic, he says, "It's not magic, it's just skill. It's all explainable." She says, "What can't you explain?" And he goes into a story about Merlin and his wife. He claimed that towards the end of his career, he truly believed that he could read her mind. She thinks it could be fun if they tried the exact procedure that he used. And at first, Corky refuses because he doesn't want her to think less of him if he fails. I love this. This is probably one of the best.
This was another little breadcrumb of like, oh shit, are we gonna get actually like mythical right now? Are we gonna like do the Sorcerer's Apprentice or something? You know what I mean?
Like, straight up.
And also when he foreshadows all this about like what the old magician and his wife wanted to accomplish, and then what we're gonna, something that happens later in the movie, I felt little fooled at this point, going like, "You asshole."
No, the movie just, again, you were saying, it just does misdirection to the entire audience. It's fucking great, dude. It's fascinating.
I love it.
All right, so we cut to the two of them attempting the routine at the table. Corky lays out 2 shuffle decks, and he has Peg select a card from hers, telling her to remember it before placing it in her deck and handing it back to him. He has her cut the card once and swaps the deck with her. He tells her to take her card out and hold it over her heart, and to once again really focus on it. While he searches through her deck for the card that she chose. She wants to stop. He wants to stop, but she encourages him to keep going. But when he fails the attempt, he explodes in a fit of rage, blaming her and simultaneously venting about his current situation that he's running from.
I don't want to underestimate the explode part of that, because in one frame he's perfectly fine. In the next frame, he got a bottle of water dumped on him. Like he was just soaked.
Soaking wet. He sweats a lot in this movie.
A lot, yeah. And I love the tight shots. The tight shots on the eyes are really, really cool.
And
so cool.
The tension that I like from this too, in my mind, watching this, because they play it so straight, and it is a movie about magic, but it's not magical, is like in any other movie that would go the obvious route with this type of movie. This is the scene where you have the 3 rich people, like their son died, so they pay this person to come out with the crystal ball, and then they're like they put the cards down and the table starts floating. And then like you get all of that though, but it's just a guy that's too horny with his high school crush, and he has a deck of cards, and he's just fuming. And like they get so much tension out of this like little nerd, and I just
Yeah, but what I wonder is like, was he messing up, or was he, because he doesn't have, I don't feel like, that character Corky is a good enough actor to throw that, go into a rage and act like he didn't get it and act like it was so hard,
Mm-hmm.
or was he that good, or did he actually maybe perform a real magical moment in that, and then
Yeah, yeah.
the dummy at the end, maybe that's like the dummy going, no, this is normally how it's done, and made him look bad. I don't,
Mhm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
moment felt so real
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
that,
very,
Yeah,
very strange.
he's so relieved when he gets it. And also the camera work too, when we know it's the three of
Yep,
clubs, the
yep.
way he
Mhm.
passes by it,
Beautiful.
comes back,
Yeah,
oh god, my
I
heart
so good.
tried
Yeah,
audibly,
to
I
stop.
audibly went, oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
oh. Like
Oh,
I out loud, I was just like, God damn it. I
yep.
just do this for yourself. Do it. You deserve this.
Dude.
Like
And I
he's
know as a
clearly
magician too.
insane.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know as a magician
He
too. Like that's one thing you do is you do pass the card and then go back to it. But and so I'm watching this, and then after that part was done, I went, "Oh God, they played me. They played me."
Yeah,
Just like
yeah. That's
yeah. Yeah.
oh, good job, director. Good
yeah,
He's
job.
yeah.
clearly insane from the get-go. I should not trust him. I tell myself this several times in the first 30 minutes. Every 2 seconds after I say that, I'm like, yeah, but like he's got it in him. He can beat this. Like
Yeah, but I could fix
I
him.
hate, yeah, I really, I'm not joking. Like I was
Yeah,
rooting for this guy who's clearly insane and I hated it.
he's a great
Yeah.
underdog in
Oh
Mhm.
throughout the
yeah.
entire movie.
100%. I actually did want to ask, is there a routine that actually that's famous like this? Is there an actual like trick that's
Yeah, I mean, the way that they actually kind of spoil it, that is a method for doing this, the way that they mention
yeah.
it in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but there are a lot of
Oh yeah,
like,
Fats drops that at the end. I forgot. Yeah, he totally
yep,
does
just
it. Yeah.
completely gives it away. So, if you guys want
Yeah.
to learn a magic trick, watch this movie at the
Yeah,
end.
for
That
sure.
blows it all
Literally.
up right there. One that can
Yeah.
get you laid too, apparently.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 100%.
but yeah, the idea of like do as I do, or put up and print a card on your heart, send it to me through your mind, like that plot's all over the place in magic,
Okay.
and obviously
Yeah.
tons of different methods
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's something that's big, especially using two different decks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, and again, like, yeah, it feels like you're actually going to school when he like teaches the trick.
Yeah.
Because also, like, and I've seen, the clips of the stuff that you posted are like about, how you teach and stuff. I would actually imagine that's similar to how it is with the top-down camera and then showing the cards how it's done and everything. Like,
Yeah, I
it
set up a
actually
camera
does
in
feel like you're
class and
taking a lesson.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so like I
yeah.
have a screen in the back, and it's kind of lecture style. But yeah, all the kids have cards with them, and I have my close-up pad and my camera on it, and I teach
Wild.
them moves and things like that, and
That's
show them the
so
effect first, and then afterward break it down for them, and then they all work on it too.
I
wow.
just
So
I
that's
just
cool, man.
I gotta drop this. This is a side tangent real quick, but
Yeah.
since you're a magician, okay. So I adored magic from a young age up until I was like 11. Still always had an appreciation for it. This has nothing to do with the movie. I just thought about it now for the first time in 20 years.
Okay.
I just remembered the fushigi and how it broke magic for me.
Oh yeah,
Do you
that's
remember
right.
the fushigi?
Yeah, the fucking ball or
Oh
whatever.
my God. I have
Oh,
never
yeah.
been more excited for something in my life. Those commercials, oh my God, the most as made for TV looking ass commercial,
Yeah,
but it
for
was so
sure.
good. Finally got a hold of one and I'm like, it's just a ball.
It's just
And then
a
you put in the
ball.
DVD and they're like, yeah, it'll take like 6 weeks, maybe 3 months,
Yeah.
maybe 6 months to learn this. But when you
Yeah.
master it, and I'm like, I want to do magic. And then that's kind of like when it clicked in my head, I'm like, oh, like I knew magic isn't like necessarily real. But in my
Yeah.
mind, I'm like, yeah, you just kind of do it. And like 10, 11-year-old me just broke my heart when the Fushigi came with that instructional DVD. And I just had to vent about that real quick.
Yeah, no, I get it. And there are a lot of especially when it comes to like an apparatus or something like that. The
Yeah.
explanation is always so disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
The method is, but at the same time, if you look back at it, you go, yeah, I was disappointed when I learned it, but when I saw it, it still fooled the crap out of
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not until you learn how it's done that it can spoil it. So that's one thing I also tell my students is, a lot of what you're gonna learn how it's done, and you're gonna go, oh man, that's not that impressive. But you got to
Mhm.
go back 40 seconds in your life to remember when that
Yeah.
fooled the crap out of you,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
go, oh, never
Yep.
mind. So it can work, even though it seems like it's cheap or whatever, but it did fool me. I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, 100%. That's so, yeah, it's so cool. And besides the fact, all of that to say too, it is wild that a magic class exists in a
Yeah.
university setting.
Yeah.
That is so fucking cool. I would have taken your class immediately, man.
too.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish I had a magic class in college. I didn't have
Oh,
one.
that's so cool, man. It's
Yeah.
so awesome. So getting back to the movie, so he has Peg attempt the routine again under duress, and this time the routine is a success, and we suddenly forget all about those red flags that he was just waving around.
This is the immediate point where I'm like, there it is. This movie was made in the 70s.
For
Like,
sure, yeah.
He gets up, he's throwing shit, slamming the table, screaming at her, like, I don't care if you're scared. Get the fucking shit together.
Yeah.
They do it, and then she like gets on her knees, caresses his hand with her cheek, and they make out passionately.
Also, one of
I'm
those
like, there it
awkward
is.
kisses because he like just lifts her head, but then realizes how low she is, and he's got to bend.
He's got to go bend
all the way down.
down.
It's so weird.
100%. So I put here 70s sex scenes are always scored by dramatic violins and shaky camera work, but
True.
this one is interrupted by Fat sitting in a chair in the next room looking real unimpressed.
Mhm.
And then every once in a while, and his was harmonica music too.
Yeah, it's a sharp harmonica sting that every time we cut to his face, that's hilarious.
And I loved it because it's like the Jason Voorhees, like that.
Yeah.
But then it's like the most goofy shit ever for a ventriloquist dummy, but it's also like weirdly creepy. Like
it is creepy.
Harmonicas are like harmonicas. Like I think of them like I think of, ventriloquist dummies. They're just there.
Yeah.
But like I never thought about how they could actually be like scary.
It's
and this movie really showed
effective. That's what I'm saying. I've never really heard a harmonica sting before. I've never heard that before in a movie to emphasize a jump scare.
I like how again, this is going to sound kind of weird because there's a lot of like wind instruments that use breath, but a harmonica kind of is the most breath-like. Like you hear the breath in that more than most.
You can almost talk through a harmonica.
Yeah, and it feels like that creepy cliche of like someone breathing heavily into a phone when they do it, and you see him looking through the window, and it's like,
yeah, for sure.
I also he had to position the dummy on that couch. And so why did he put it with clear view of the bedroom? You box that thing up, and instead it's just sitting there.
He's cooking the puppet,
just listening, going like, "Oh yeah, I like that." So creepy.
100%.
He's cooking the puppet. That's what. Because the puppet does get jealous. It's like, don't he does. Held me against your bosom. You better not like her.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, I forgot. I didn't write all the dialogue, but yeah, he does mention that like she picked him up.
Jealous.
And I think this leads, even if he didn't necessarily kill his family or something, or even kill his mentor. I think this kind of just at the end of it, like you take the mythicism, the mythical aspect out of it. This very much just reads like. As like, I don't know if I'm even saying it right. Is it DID? Is that what it's called now? Or like multiple personality disorder?
Yeah.
Like he clearly lost his family at a young age. We see him like whittling wood as a child. And then like no one at school talked to him. The love of his life as a child didn't talk to him. His mentor passes away before he even peaks in his career. Like he never had anybody. And it feels like this isn't even him when he's doing it. So when he's positioning that puppet, I feel like he's not even there. And we kind of see that in the last scene of the movie. He's literally, the puppet's not with him, but he says later in the movie, like, it's not Corky, it's Fats. I think it is just like a shutdown moment, which is hilarious because it's not even him cucking the puppet, it's Fats cucking himself, if that's the case.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like in that scene with the father's playing football with the other son.
Yeah.
And he's just whittling alone on the stoop.
Oh, I missed that.
Like,
okay, yeah.
So maybe even he didn't get attention from his father, and that's why he held on to Merlin so much and saw him as a father figure. So
and then even the mother kind of ignored him too. She kind of glances over at him and then just like
beans or something like that.
Yeah.
Some kind of our town shit like this. She's just doing
this is just stupid, but I thought of this. You know how like you take the toy dolls and you make them kiss? if Fats is taking over Corky's body and then Fats cucked himself, the doll took the humans and he's like, make them kiss.
So the two discuss a plan to run away together, and Corky returns to his cabin. We see Fats sitting in the chair while Corky makes the bed, and the two have a back and forth about leaving. But Corky ultimately shuts it down, shouting at Fats to keep quiet. Suddenly, we see Ben standing in his doorway, realizing how deeply disturbed Corky actually is. He agrees to hear him out and to even let the whole thing go under one condition. He must keep Fats quiet for 5 uninterrupted minutes. And if he can't, he'll see about getting Corky to see a professional doctor as quick as possible.
Another one of the most tense moments in the movie.
Yes, this
right
definitely
here.
was.
And they do it in real time. I was watching this, like when he does, and it's only been 30 seconds. Yep. I'm like, that was only 30 seconds. So one thing I do with my students is I make them get up in front of class because it's a performance class, and most of them aren't performers. And so I'm like, you have to get up in front of class, and for 1 minute straight, you have to talk about something that you love, like a movie or something. Cool. So because I want them to be able to think about it, be animated, and all of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And almost every single student at about 30 seconds, they're like, and da 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 blah blah. How long's that been? Still got halfway to go. Oh, jeez, a minute, an eternity when you're waiting it out. And I love that they kept this part in real time because God, it felt like an eternity.
Yeah, it's so tense, and I didn't really put it in here in my notes, but I love the earnesty in Ben's face when he's realizing just how fucked up his friend is. You know what I mean? Because like all of that goes out the window. All the manager shit goes out the window at one point. He's just like, I'm doing this for your safety, like for your health. Like that's what I need to do. And he like while he's doing like I have the next note right here. So Corky feigns confidence, but is fidgeting in his seat and keeps asking how much time is left. He says, "This is very cruel of you. You know that." And Ben says, "I don't mean it to be." And he says, "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you." I love that. That bit of dialogue was so good, dude. It's so good.
I like the cliche as much as it is kind of a cliche of like the big wig agent guy, kind of like being the father surrogate or mother surrogate to the celebrity that he's like taking care of, like a get him to the Greek situation. It's everywhere. Every agent in every movie has that trope, but this one felt really good because again, it's that misdirection of like he just seems like the scummy kind of like, see, I'm chomping on a cigar. See, this is the next big thing on the tube. See, and then I'm like waiting for him to be like kind of an asshole, like use them up and spit them out type of thing.
Exactly.
And then we get this like whole hard heel shift here. And it's just, it made it even more impactful because as much as he takes his job seriously, it made me think back of when he was on the phone with him with the lawyers. And like, as much as he is fucking around and joking, he has a line where he says something like, "I have 3 of our top lawyers here. They have an equal IQ of like 100. We got this. We're good." And I was like, I knew that wasn't right. So I Googled it and I'm like, okay, I'm the stupid one. All right.
It's super smart. Super smart comedy, for sure.
He cares so much, and like the way he like placates his care through his like self-deprecating humor. I just connected to a lot, and it was really good. He really was like one of the best parts of this movie.
It really was in it because of that exact thing that you were just saying. That you expect this character because of the archetype that he's already playing, and he's just. His mannerisms, his demeanor, everything, like the way he talks about it, all feels like, okay, this is just the Hollywood fucking, bigwig who's just going to use this guy up and toss him to the side. And then you realize, like, there's this one moment of sincerity right here where he's just like, I need to help you. And like, you need to let me help you. And it's like, I was like choking up. I was like, oh my God, like, he really cares about this, man. For sure.
Anthony Hopkins says, like, you owe me a listen. And the guy goes,
I love that. Okay.
It comes down like, all right, solid.
For sure. I loved it.
There is just one last thing to throw out there, which is we kind of glossed over a few of these scenes, but as Corky is making his way to this hometown, which is like estimated like 90 miles outside of New York, he runs through a few people, like the taxi driver and a couple other people, and they all know him because at this point he is fairly big. He's not like
Carson and stuff already.
He's not Chapel Roan now, but he's Chapel Roan in 2023. Like he's on the cusp. He's about to burst. But like for real. So like when they do interact with him, none of them are weird and like fangirly, but they all are like oh, I know you. I like you because you're famous. Oh, I know you. Can you tip me more because you're famous?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I know
Yeah.
you. You're the famous guy. And like, this is the first time that like no one's been mean to him, but everyone's been so shallow in that moment of sincerity with how much he's been like, he was ostracized in his life with nobody growing up. And then he gets this fame that he wanted. And like, we see like everybody be so like surface level with him. And I don't know if it's an aspect of Peggy, unfortunately, being written in the 70s, probably by a man, but even her character is very shallow with him.
For
It seems
sure.
at times,
Yeah.
even the love.
Yeah.
It seems like she's very much just there to be a woman in love to have sex with. And
Yeah,
it's sad.
yeah.
But
I will agree with that for sure. That is the one
Yeah.
part of this movie that I did catch that. I was like, oh man, it feels
Like-
like we could have done a lot more with her character.
And at 3 points, they literally, Anthony Hopkins, like Corky, is like, hey, so did I win you yet? Hey, I want my prize. Hey, are you going to leave your husband? I want the
Yeah,
prize. I want the
yeah.
trophy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
For sure.
God,
But
dude,
also,
you
that being said,
suck.
Anne Margaret, who does play Peggy, she does a phenomenal job again.
She
She's
does.
incredible.
Even though it's
She's
like
so
she
good.
makes this character more than just that, or at least
Mhm.
seem more than just that, even
Yeah.
though that's kind of what it's written as.
You do
Yeah,
feel
for
for
sure.
her. You feel awful because on one hand, she's in
Mhm.
this situation with this like just broken home, this
Yeah.
shitty drunk husband. And then on the other hand, she's like, oh, this might be a chance at real love with somebody that really cares and is successful. I can
Yeah.
have a life. And then in the meantime, he's just, rolling on the ground, sweating in a cabin in the back.
Well, I also
Like-
like that she was the cheerleader. When we first see her,
Yeah.
she
Oh,
opens
yeah,
up that
yeah.
yearbook. She was the
Yeah.
popular cheerleader.
Yeah.
She probably got married to that first boyfriend that she walked away
Mhm.
with in that scene. That's probably that guy.
Yeah, that is.
And so
Yeah, I
you're
want to
just
say
like-
they even mention it. Duke, they mentioned that.
Yeah, dude,
because
like they
Duke-
got together right out of high school, and so it's
Exactly,
like
yeah.
the cheerleader that thought she was going to have everything
Mhm.
is now still living in the same hometown
Yeah.
with the same boyfriend who does not look like the handsome football player anymore, and they're in a loveless marriage.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those other kind of tropes that we
Yeah,
do,
for
but it
sure.
was
It
still
definitely is.
played really well.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to throw out there, based on what you just said there, I do have to say cathartically, graduating 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Jesus, I don't want to think about that. 12 years ago. Okay.
Yesterday. It
me
was
started.
yesterday.
No, but like with social media being so accessible to random people in my life, I will occasionally look up people in my like, you should add these people. And I'm like, ooh, damn, you're rough.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, it's
That's all.
satisfying.
And it feels
It's
kind of
satisfying.
good.
Yeah, it does. I agree. 100%.
It's like, hey, remember when I asked you to
Everyone's
prom and you
done it.
told me to KMY
Yeah.
or KMS?
KMS,
Yeah. How's your fourth kid doing?
Yep.
That's all. That's all.
That's amazing.
Won't say anything, but I bet you know that person's first and last name.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
middle.
for sure.
And
middle.
social security number because I work at a bank.
Fuck, dude, that's so good. So Corky finally cracks and grabs Fats, who performs a manic intro monologue to their show. When Ben attempts to leave, Corky grabs him, but Ben shuffles him off. And Corky says, "You're taking my one chance." And Ben tells him, "I'm your one chance," before walking out, which was a mic drop ass ending. I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah.
This is literally just Mia Goth screaming, "I'm a star." Like
yeah,
that's what that felt
for
like.
sure.
Yeah, this is when I thought of that. I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of dudes would be hypocritical in this moment if I showed them
that's
this movie.
So funny. Yeah, that's so fun. I love that. I did not expect to get Incel
Yeah.
Pearl
We
out
got
of this
the
movie.
we got the BPD girlies and the DID daddies.
God damn
Carry
it,
on.
Austin. God damn it. Fats keeps reminding him when that he's failed, and he screams at Ben at him to stop Ben using him. It was a weird sentence. He screams at him. He's like, how do I stop him? How do I stop him? He's like, use me. And I was like, what? I was like,
I
oh,
thought that
yeah,
for one
yeah.
second too, and then I went, "Oh damn!"
Yeah,
For
you know,
sure, yeah.
remember in Dead or Alive, Joey, when I said, the guy eats all the noodles and then he gets
He
blown
says-
up, and then
The one
noodles
who
come out of his
says
stomach, and then the cop looks at the noodles, and I'm like, I swear to God, if he looks at those and he says noodles, and he does, at this point, he's like, use me, and I'm like, I swear to God, since he's made of wood, if he beats him to death with the dummy, and then it happens, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
And I love the vocals during this part too, because every time he hits him with Fats, Fats like
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like it's hurting him
and
too.
he actually
So,
has like the voice that he's like hurt afterwards, like the wounded voice. It's so fun. It's so cool. So we cut to see Corky slamming Ben in the head with Fats just before Peg comes out to ask him about dinner. He avoids suspicion by telling her he's just out for a walk. I know, I love that. What
yeah.
does she say? She's like, "Do you want the asparagus or
So
something?"
yeah, asparagus
Like,
spears or green
Yeah,
beans.
they green
yeah.
beans. Yeah. She's like, "You have to decide. You're the man."
Yeah, you're the man now. You make all the decisions. Like,
Exactly.
made in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's
Right
that
there.
age showing.
Yep.
So we hear moaning, and it's revealed to be Fats complaining about being hurt. Corky patches him up and tries to convince him to let him call the cops. Fats tells him that to think logically and to stuff rocks in Ben's pockets to weigh the body down in the river.
Real quick, when he
Yeah.
patches him up, he puts that cap on his head, and we see this cap on multiple people because at the end of the day, it's just a beanie. Because essentially,
Yeah.
he has blood on his wig, so he's like, "Oh, I'll put the cap on. No one will see the bandages. You look great, buddy."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he puts
I
that
love
cap
it.
on, that's right after the death. Which right before that is Fats like hyping him up by saying they're gonna put you in the loony bin. They're gonna make you. What's Peg gonna do? Bring crayons and you can color together.
Oh
You
yeah, you
fucking
can
idiot.
both.
Yeah.
But like with this being made in like the late 70s around this time, it's not really, I don't think it's this deep, but I did just think of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I was gonna say
And
the
as
same
soon
thing.
as
That's
he
just
breaks
that.
as soon as he kind of cracks that shell and goes insane, they put that beanie on him and he looks just like Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Damn.
so good, dude.
That's right.
You'll find Austin is weirdly like psychically linked with everyone who comes on this show.
Mind meld.
That's
I
so
do the
good.
mind meld.
Yeah. As
Put
you
the card
started
up to
talking
your
that, I
heart.
was going, oh shit. Are you going? Yeah.
Yeah.
Take two niche things, write them on a card, put them to your heart, and I can make them work as one. Just two random references.
Yeah, boy. That's so good. Oh my god, Austin, that was perfect. God damn it. All right, so we see Corky moving the body later that night and does just as Fats explained. But Ben suddenly wakes up and the two struggle in the water for a bit. Corky eventually overpowers him and drowns him. The next morning, Peg meets Corky at his cabin and warns him that her husband Duke has returned home last night, and he didn't like the idea of her being there alone with another man. She tells him that it's best if he came inside for some coffee so Duke can see the two of them together. He brings Fats with him and charms Duke with some antics. Ask him if he's glad I'm here too. I love that. He was like, that was so funny. These little
Was his name Duke and not Paul?
No, yeah,
his name's Duke.
Yeah,
okay, I thought it was Paul for some reason.
Yeah.
But Duke, the face of this actor, like with his character being who he is and what he talks about, how his life has become everything but what he wanted and how he's kind of spiraled out since high school.
Yeah.
You can really, this is just like a particular thing about this guy's face from like the eyes, like, you know how like a noir would light the eyes.
Yeah,
you see such like the young, handsome guy in his eyes. And I don't know if it's makeup that they did, but they weathered everything else very red and like leathered almost. But you see like the youth in him, in his eyes and in his nose, and then everything else is so worn down. And it just added so much for me because like he later talks on the boat that they go on about like where he was in life, why he just wants to be happy with Peg and this and that. And this was just such great like casting because like I just believed it so much from this guy, as much as he was literally just abusing his wife.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like, well, I just watched you abuse your wife. I'm not going to have sympathy for you. You can see so much of just a broken man that wants good for his wife and him. And it was very struggling for me, very, very frustrating to have that like that weight of back and forth. Like, I just want to hate you. Let me hate you.
They do a really good job of like all these characters are super layered. That's the thing. Like like everyone is really well like written, performed, like everything about it. The characters are super layered, and I really, I agree with you. Like there were moments of like, oh man, you just kind of want him to succeed, and then he's like, oh, but a firm reminder, he's a piece of shit too.
Yeah, and then it's just like it's a movie from this time, so I'm like, oh, let's do the drunk, abusive husband cliche in the woods, okay? But then they don't give it to you, and it's just like, You know, we already brought up cuckolding. It's like the ultimate fucking edge for this movie. This movie, if cuckolding was that, this is the edging of the movie. Duke is the edge of this movie, and Fats is the cuck.
When they're in the boat, with Anthony Hopkins, and he's trying to get him to confess that he's with his wife, but then he goes, when Anthony Hopkins makes a joke of it, and he says that he didn't do it, and then Duke gets really emotional. He's like, she says she wanted to. I'm losing her. I don't know. How do I get her back?
That's what I'm saying. That was the moment that brings you back in. You're just like,
and like, that's the last type of guy that would open up to somebody, let alone the guy that his wife wants to fuck. So he must be really, truly broken to be like, I'm pleading with you. Don't fuck my wife and help me get her back. Like, just, like that's true low right there.
So Duke heads out to board up the cabins on the other side of their property, and on his way, he sees Ben's Rolls Royce parked on the side of the road. He asks Corky about it, and they all go to investigate together. He identifies it as his agent's car and tells Duke that he's in hiding because of career problems. He says he's going to see what's going on and hands Duke the keys to move the car. And I love that he's like, you mind moving the car? And he's like, do I mind driving a $20,000 vehicle? No. $8,000 vehicle? He's like, no. And then, the whole earnesty with this was great because you do see Anthony Hopkins' character, like, completely, like, he's frazzled by this whole thing. He's like, oh, we got to find him. Like, we absolutely, he's like, I know I know he does this and I know he does this. He wouldn't ever just leave his car here. Isn't that? It's very cool how earnest.
Yeah, only a Rolls man can touch a Rolls Royce. Or
yeah,
something.
Exactly. Yeah. Call. On the phone call earlier. Yeah, exactly. He's like, no one would ever touch this car. So
this is just another one of those things though, where we talked about, like, is he really in control when he's attacking these people? Because as much as he might not be, he has to be, because he's actively, he's not trying to hide it for the sake of Fats. He's not trying to, I don't know. It's just the way he plays the character is so elusive is like the only way I can think of it. Cause I never know what his motive is, even after watching the movie. And it's just fair. Like, it's so frustrating,
like
but in a good way.
Trance or anything, it's not like he's being possessed by the puppet. He's still very much conscious of what he's doing in those moments.
But he doesn't want to do it. But also, Fats will be like, "Hey, grab the knife." He'll be like, "Oh yeah, of course, totally. What am I going to do with it?"
Like, "Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, what's up?"
It's so confusing, but like, enticing at the same time.
Oh yeah, 100%. So he expertly feigns a phone call to Ben in front of Peg, apparently echoing the responses he's being given, saying that the car got stuck in the mud and that he wouldn't find anyone. When he couldn't find anyone, he called a cab home. Duke is suspicious and is interrogating Peg for answers when they're alone and threatens violence. He tells her, "You tell me the truth. Did you sleep with him?" She says, "No, but I wanted to." And this... cue the hilarious cut to Duke standing on the dock next to Corky's cabin, asking him to go fishing with him. That's amazing. Oh man, that's another thing. That's another strong point for this editing. Like, it is so funny. That is such.
Well, then also what the thing he says, he's like, come, let's go fishing. He goes, "Where's Peg?" He goes, "She said she went into town. She's got a big decision to make."
Yeah. It's just like super brooding.
I'm pretty sure if you change the music, that music that goes like bow now 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 like if you take that type of music, and you just layer it over this, like, it's just an SNL sketch half the time. Like, it's so great.
Oh man. So he says he wants to have a conversation with him and that Peg is in town making a decision. Corky grabs his coat and locks the door to his cabin, which Duke finds suspicious. He just says, he's like, "Oh, I do it out of habit." The two head out on the paddle boat, and Corky keeps checking the water for signs of Ben's body. Duke tries to level with him that he feels like he's going to lose Peg soon. While they're chatting, Duke catches something on the line, and we think he's hooked the corpse. Corky prepares to knock Duke out with a paddle, but it turns out to just be a large tree branch.
Yeah, and
this shit. He's standing up behind him like fucking.
Like, again, like, it just swindles me. It's like, "Hey, look at these 3 bowls.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna steal your wallet." And it just steals my wallet. Like, I'm waiting for the branch or I'm waiting for like I thought it was gonna be like his hand, like it hooks on his watch or something. And like his hand comes out because that would look cool. And then you see like the beginning of like what looks like an arm, and I'm like, well, it can't decay that fast, and it's a branch, and I'm like, damn, you got me. And then I'm like, okay, well, he got away with it for now, and then take it away.
Yep. So just as he unhooks the branch, he looks over on the shore and sees Ben lying there. They both rush over to see if he's alive, and Duke tells Corky to go to the house to call for help. He'll stay there so that he can direct them. Oh, and to stay there so that he can direct them when they get there. Duke attempts CPR but realizes that Ben is gone, so he uses the time to sneak into Corky's cabin and look around.
So real quick, when we do the CPR moment, because Burgess Meredith already came back to life once, right? Like when Anthony Hopkins is dragging him through the water, there's that moment of like, dead body. I'm awake. And then their struggle too. I'm going, where are you getting the leverage to push someone down? You're floating as well. How is this? Somebody's got to be that little struggle thing got me. But yeah, I was expecting, or actually I was hoping that it would not wake up, because I'm going, I swear to God, if he gargles out something, bullshit. Like, it's been a while. He's old. Don't give me this another bing moment.
I'm so happy you jumped to that, because I was literally I took a breath to say that verbatim, and then you were like, hold on. And it's just fucking because like that was the thing. I'm like, it would be like, we were talking about how this feels like a comedy. I'm like, this is just like some fucking rule of three shit going on. If he comes back a second time, and like Return of the Living Dead with like the headless yellow zombie, like that's what it would have been the rest of the movie. And I was again, like, he was doing the mouth to mouth, and I'm like, please don't come back. This is gonna be goofy as shit. And I was really happy about that. But there was something else, and I lost it. So we digress.
We digress. He goes through bags and drawers as Fats sits nearby on a chair. He eventually finds Ben's wallet and realizes that it was Corky who murdered him. There's a really cool shot in the mirror where we see Fats's head slightly tilt behind Duke.
Oh, yeah.
When he's looking. That was super cool. I loved that. Again, this is
the
where we get the haunted doll shit.
Yep.
Yeah, this is where we get the haunted doll shit.
Oh, shit, maybe it is.
Yeah. There's a couple of these that we kind of gleamed over. So when he's dragging out Gangrene to the lake, we get this long like cut of him dragging him, and then he'd stop and look up at the window, and he placed Fats directly out the lit window, like watching him in support.
That's funny.
Because Fats gave him the idea, and he's like, come on, do it.
Yeah.
Like a whisper in your ear, but like a visual whisper. Like, it's just that constant reminder of like, all right, let's fucking go. But I remember. The thoughts have come back. All right, Joey knows this. You probably don't know this because I've never met you before, so of course you won't know this. But I have terrible night terrors. I've had them forever, but they're always the same consistent thing where it's me being plopped in a situation where a dead body is. And I have nothing necessarily to do with the fact that the body's dead, but I am immediately complicit. And in that dream, I'm just like frantically panicking about like, oh fuck. And I'm like already in the process of like getting rid of it, either burying it or whatever. And then the whole nightmare itself is just knowing that it's like right outside my window. It's in my backyard. It's under the desk. Yeah, and then like it's just movie, like found, but it's just people living the day asking me questions, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, and like this whole movie was the closest I've come to seeing those night terrors in real life. Like, as goofy as it can be, just like that whole boat scene of him like being like, oh yeah, I'll just push the boat. No, I'm just trying to help you. I'm trying to push the paddles. He's like, you're breaking the pole. And he's like, no, I'm helping you. And then nothing happens. And he's just like, oh. And then the guy looks up and the body's over there. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to run that way. You stay here. I'm going to go around and kill you. And then it's just that like that constant, it's like yes and, but like felony edition, you know what I mean?
Felonious, yes and.
Yeah. Fallacious and felonious edition.
Yeah. Stupid.
But yeah, no, this is like such a great depiction of my nightmares that I have. It's like somewhat often of just like, I just hate situations where it's not even the crime, it's just the cover up is more anxiety ridden than like the crime, and it's just they do a really good job of that.
Oh yeah,
it's that old joke of like, if you're ever bored, commit a murder, because there's so much to do afterwards. You know, you're giving yourself stuff to do for weeks and months.
That's so good. I've never. Oh man. So speaking of which, when he goes over when he goes over to look, we see a hand opening up a switchblade and stabbing him in the gut. Fats falls over in the chair, and Corky comes out from behind the curtain, sweating and hyperventilating. Which is again that like it looks like Fats's hand when he pulls the switchblade out. It
Yeah.
looks like it's
And the way
so
that he
fucking
stabs
cool.
too, like there's the first stab he gets him, and then he stabs again, and then the next time the stab happens, it's because the actor playing Duke stumbles and falls forward,
Forward,
Yeah.
and then that comes out, and then as he's falling down, the blade catches his neck.
Yeah.
So you're going, okay, is it the puppet? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
was this kind of like an accidental thing?
Mhm.
And then when Anthony Hopkins comes out, I went, it's not
Yeah.
a haunted doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this too bleeds into the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie where Fats has the card in his hand. And I'm thinking about this, and they're explaining that joke where he has the card in his hand.
Yeah.
I want
Oh
to say.
yeah, I forgot.
And then
about
they're
that,
like, yeah, you're so busy looking at the puppet, you're not looking at the hands.
Oh
Mhm.
shit!
And so they
just
like,
did that to us. Oh god.
yeah, I just realized that now.
Like,
Like they did it to you.
This
They
movie's
brought
so
the riff
good.
back, but
Yeah.
slower. Like,
they brought it back.
They brought it back, and they actually show it to us
yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
And we're
yeah.
so focused on like the fucking horrible haunted
Yeah.
puppet. We're just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, reality check.
Yeah, this movie is genius. This is actually
And they make
pretty
you love
good.
the guy so much that you don't want him to be crazy. So they
Right.
gaslight you so successfully with that. So it adds an element
Yeah.
of like, no, it can't be him.
Yeah, for sure. So Fats tells Corky to calm down and again gives him instructions on how to get rid of the bodies. After cleaning up, Corky sees Peg sitting at the boat next to the cabin. He tells her that Duke blew up at him, went hunting, and told him that he better be gone when he got back. She tells him that she's made up her mind and that she's willing to leave with him, but she just needs to tell Duke in person to leave him with his pride intact. She says that they should both pack and get ready to leave. While gathering his things, Corky tells Fats that he plans on leaving him behind while he's on his honeymoon. And Fats is upset by this and threatens to tell people about the bodies in Lake Melody. Corky says, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm doing a solo now.
Speaking of the bodies in Lake Melody, real quick,
Yeah.
when he kills Duke and like Fats is talking to him, I love how it really reminds you of how like inexperienced and just, for lack of a better word, insane this guy is, because his first reaction as Fats was like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, you just take him, put some rocks in his pocket because this is an Acme cartoon, and he floats to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
You put some cement shoes on him.
Take them both and tie them together with a rock and go in there, and then I can say that you killed two birds with one stone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's still doing vaudeville shtick.
And it doesn't happen. It doesn't work the first time with the rocks. And
Right?
then like Fats
So
is
let's
like,
try
hey,
it
no,
again.
chill. I got this. Tie them both up, put a rock
Yeah.
on top of both of them,
Both of them.
make
Yep.
it bigger, then it'll work.
Ta-da. Yeah.
Like
So good.
I want like
I love that he threatens him to tell him he threatens to tell people during an act.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. That was like such an interesting like way of threatening someone.
And I'm so glad that this doesn't have sequels. The ending was perfect and I loved
Yeah.
it. But
Oh, yeah.
I really would love to see Fats as just another Freddy Krueger type of situation. Like Anthony Hopkins just used his voice, or like Chucky, like Brad Dourif used
Yeah.
his voice.
Mhm.
Like I would love to see this dude just get like voodoo possessed.
Yeah, and
he's
like
just
what other
vibing out.
iterations would he have? How would he come out?
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
For
because
sure.
it won't say everything at the end, but it does, kind of give a thing of like it could be not just a doll that it could be, and it could be whatever somebody
Yeah.
wants to be influenced
Yeah.
by.
Yep, 100%. So, nighttime falls, and Duke is still nowhere to be found. Corky tries convincing Peg to leave already, but she refuses. He brings out Corky to try and provide some comic relief, but ends up telling her that the trick he showed her earlier with the two decks was just something Corky pulls out when he wants to impress women. And
That's a really nice way to put that, by the way. You really toned that one down for a PG rating. He's calling her a slut, a floozy, like he's calling her like a flapjack titty fucking harlot. Like he is not kind. And it's all within the span of 2 seconds, but it's like 3 sentences. He's just like
Yeah.
da 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 da.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
suck.
meant nothing to him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So She runs off, which causes Corky to go into a full spiral. He has a meltdown in the cabin while Fats is basically controlling him. Which I love. They flipped it. Like Fats is like yelling at him.
And
He
real quick, I just kind of thought about this. This movie as a story is interesting because he's at the height of his fame. He's about to pop off and just be the next, like I said, Chapel Roan or whatever, the next big thing. And listen, we love Chapel Roan, or at least I do. But I will input her name anywhere I can. But he's gonna be the next big thing, and he like just throws away his career because it's that whole imposter syndrome, that like fear of success. And he runs away because he's like, I need to ground myself back where I came from. I need to, like, I had this love. I need to see if I can have this and I can have a normal life. He literally gets it. And then he wins again. He gets the success. He gets the love. He gets the little hometown hero story. And then she's literally ready to go, even though she wants to wait a couple hours. And he's like, nah, fuck it. You like, just that self-sabotage consistently running through him. Just as like a psychological angle is so, I don't want to say nice to see, but it's
interesting
real,
though, because
I've lived it. It's just a very human thing, that self-sabotage.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it was so neat to see like the way that their back and forth was that he wants the success. He obviously clearly wanted it. In the beginning of the movie. He was talking about, how much he was trying to achieve this thing. And then when he finally gets it, he's like, oh no, wait, I don't want it anymore. Like, I don't like I didn't mean that,
And I mean, she's a symbol of success. He always had a crush
exactly.
on her.
She even has the direct line about being like, she's like, if I'm a prize, then you win.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, what the fuck? You couldn't even be more clearer with that one.
Yeah. But no, I don't know. I had something. Dude, I'm just like, I get a thought and then it's just a blue screen with a smiley face. Like, today is not the day. It's just like da 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 da. Like, it's
so Fats tells him to crawl on the floor, touch the ceiling, and spin around, which he does. And then when he tells him to grab a knife from his suitcase, Corky realizes what he's asking him to do and screams that he can't kill Peg.
Oh, here it is.
Okay, go ahead.
It came back. It rebooted. Software update. But like, yeah, right here, like this whole scene, it's very like locked in a cabin. It feels a lot like Evil Dead 2, like he's fighting his own hand.
Yeah,
because like, as Sam Raimi, as like comedically overacted that Fats can be, as like cartoonish as he is, and like just borderline evil at this point. He's just being a super villain.
Yeah.
We have that like dichotomy of like Anthony Hopkins doing that like very Shakespearean, like he's on the ground. Yeah, he's like doing performative dancing almost. Like, it's so fluid.
This is him acting his motherfucking ass off.
That migraine he gets where he's like, he's like mirror to mirror with himself doing the wiki how where the guy's pointing at the mirror. You know what I mean?
I thought at like, that moment too, like, because he's pressed so hard against it. I was like, oh, are they going to make the mirror
gonna
crack?
Shatter? Yeah,
I wanted that so bad.
Yeah, hard same.
Like, I'm silent when this is happening. I'm like talking casually to my girlfriend, and then I'm just like,
Another great moment with the music too, because like the music's all frantic when he's crawling around, and he's going like, Fat says this, Fat says do this, Fat says do this, Fat says get the knife. Hard cut.
He's like, oh shit, wait.
And we all did the same thing because we're going frantic. Wait, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah. And it's the fact that like he says get the knife, and then Anthony's like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, I can whittle like her like something nice, like get a little horsey. And he's like, Fat says put it in her fucking stomach and twist. And then that's when he's just like, bro, no. And he's like on the door. He's like Xing.
Yeah, he's like trying to block the doorway.
You shall not pass. Like,
Yep.
So the scene culminates in him screaming into a mirror, and Fats eventually convincing him that he is his guiding light, and that he should take the knife up the hill to say goodbye to Peg. And I love he's been controlling the levers, but then he sets him down for a bit on the couch, and the fucking thing keeps moving. I was like, oh, what the fuck?
When you just said take the knife up the hill, was that a direct line from the movie?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of those, and I didn't catch that one, but so many of these, I wouldn't even call them one-liners, because there's like every couple sentences they say, there'll be like 4 words strung together, and I'm just like, so many deathcore hardcore bands could take so many song titles and album names.
Yeah.
Take the knife up the hill.
Yeah, this is
Like,
that bring it back but slower part.
Yeah, like there's so many untapped like audio samples in this for like a pre-breakdown. Oh my god.
So we see Peg lying in bed as a shadow blocks the light coming from underneath her bedroom door. Fats' voice asks her to open up, but she tells him to go away. He tells her that Corky made her a gift and that he's going to leave it by the door, a wooden heart that he whittled for her. When Peg goes to retrieve it, we see Corky standing behind a wall, looking similar to Fats with the dark hair and eyebrows, holding the switchblade from earlier. Which is a fucking...
That was the best looking shot of the whole movie.
That's where he really looked like the lighting and everything that they gave him, the dark shadow. Just like the
They did that like hard top-down lighting and like from underneath, like it's very accent. It's so
I also know
good.
I know that this is from back in the day, and also they're out in like the countryside of like upstate New York probably or something, so it's a little different there. But like she runs back inside after being told that, like what he said to her after everything they've been through. She doesn't lock the front door, but she locks her bedroom door. And I'm just like, are you stupid? Or like, and then I tried thinking about it. About it, and I'm like, well, maybe she like wants him to like chase her. Maybe there's a part of her that like still wants him to like see if he's like, haha, JK.
That's exactly what we're gonna. I was exactly gonna say. That literally was what I thought. It's that push and pull even within her. You know. So we cut to the next scene and see the knife fall to the floor and Corky falling into a chair across from Fats. He tells him that Peg liked his heart and she was pleased with him. We realize that he's been stabbed as Fats tells him that his stomach is hurting. He has Corky crawl over to him before he bleeds out and gives him the "it was you all along" speech before they both expire, lying next to each other.
Corky took the substance and he didn't enjoy his experience.
He didn't enjoy his experience. Exactly. Yeah. So Peg can be heard calling for Corky outside, telling him that she's changed her mind and wants to leave. We get a final shot of her playing with the wooden heart he's left as she tosses it up into the air. The image freezes. And that's magic.
Well, I want to say real quick. So that scene where it pans up and we see like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's Hannibal Lecter right there. Like that's Anthony Hopkins. That full lighting behind the corner. And I was like,
I wouldn't be surprised if this movie got him that gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like that right there, I said out loud, I was like, just cut right there. Like I would have been so happy if it just cut right there with all of that just left open. Yeah. And then it didn't. And then it like hard cut to like her, or it cut to her picking up the wooden heart. Yeah. And then that hard cut to the knife.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, fuck that. I'm happy. Because that whole it fucks with you again, because that magic, that expectation, that rug pull of like, he literally ripped her heart out. He cut her heart out and took her heart. And then like you see the bloody knife and he's talking to Fats and he's just holding his tummy like he's like deep in thought. He's contemplating life. Yep. Maybe he's a little hungry. I don't know. I don't know the man. But like,
little munchies.
Didn't get dinner. Fat drops that he wants some dino nuggies because his tummy hurts, and then all of a sudden we get the reveal, and I'm like, oh my god, this is great. I'm so glad it didn't end.
And that's the thing that I'm going to. I'm like, oh, did we have a Fight Club moment here? Did he realize that whole time? And so he stabbed himself to get rid of, hopefully get rid of the puppet. Get rid of Corky. Because and then because I love not get rid of Corey, get rid of Fats. Because I love that Fats was like, "What's going on? My stomach hurts."
Yeah, he's supposed to be certain.
It's starting to sprint. Come over here. Don't let me die alone.
I'm fucking dying here, man.
It was never us. It was always you.
That just felt like that felt like the director and the writer like talking down on us. Like, dude, it was obviously always them. Do you think this is fucking magic? You idiot. Like this is the end of Psycho, where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna explain the whole movie to you because you're too dumb."
Yep.
Last thing I want to throw out there, her little one-liner where she kind of takes Fat's like accent, where he says like "fan fucking tastic" or something like that, and throws the wooden heart. The fact that Fats was more than likely, they don't explain it, but with how much he loves to whittle, carved by Corky. Like I assume that because like they show him as a child and he carved the heart for her and that horse on his porch. He
That's
probably
so
made
funny.
Corky, and I
Yeah.
was expecting like since he died and Corky extensively or like extensively died or whatever word I'm thinking of ostensively.
Yeah.
I can't speak today. It's fine because they're dead. Like what you were saying, like that part of them kind of she accepted his heart and his love. So now
Mhm.
that it's in there, she says
first,
that voice and throws it in the air and
That's a good one.
cackles like
That's a
fats.
good one.
Yeah.
They leave
Yeah.
it for a cool sequel, like Jason's mom is the killer
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I like it, like you said, I like that there is no sequel with it
Mm-hmm.
because,
Yeah.
but it did leave that, then it's one more thing where you go, wait, so it wasn't maybe mental illness. It is a possessed doll, but also he was mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
What is it with this
Yeah.
movie?
This
Like,
is
what
why
is
this is an
it?
anthem for incels because the true message of this movie is that love is the truest form of mental illness. There it is. We cracked the code, boys.
We
Yep.
got there.
And anytime you
it.
give a woman your heart, it's just going to go bad.
She's just gonna throw it in the furnace and
Throw
burn
it
it
in
like
the
wood.
yeah, just throw it in
Chat,
the air.
chat,
and
don't
cackle.
clip that. Yeah, no, I love and okay, like it isn't explicitly shown, but I imagine I mean, obviously, like he did, yeah, like you just said, he whittled the doll. That makes sense, like that he would have actually
Yeah.
made the doll, and that he has such a strong connection with it, because of that. And so yeah, that makes total sense for that. And I've seen like reads on that too, like online. I haven't read a whole lot about this movie. Like, actually, I think Matt went into more research than I was able to do for the movie. But I did see people, like just praising this for the I wouldn't like it's not necessarily not explained, but it's not into like there's
It's
just enough
they
explained
don't
about
treat
this
you like
movie.
you're stupid. I was
Exactly.
just
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about this in The Last of Us because I'm replaying The Last of Us because my girlfriend had never played it. So I'm like, oh,
Nice.
we gotta lock in real quick and
Nice.
see the
Yep.
story. And we're
Exactly.
already on the second one. And I've been trying to play the other Tomb Raider games, and they're really fun games, and the story is really fun. But like in
Yeah.
that dichotomy of like you find these relics in Tomb Raider, and like you find these notes in The Last of Us that you don't have to find,
Yeah.
but it's just
Yeah.
kind of like lore building.
Oh yeah.
And this movie is a lot like The Last of Us, where they give you a lot, but they don't show it to you. It's just kind of they just don't treat you like you're dumb, like you can kind of placate that the dummy looks like him. They show you him whittling as a child. He whittles
Yeah.
her a heart. He
Yeah.
beats him to death with the wooden doll. Like it's just kind of there, and you can pick it up, or you can just enjoy it as a fucking weird doll movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot like Hereditary, where it has that generational mental illness angle, but it is just a fun cult movie if you don't want to dig into it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I do like I said, the like actual ambiguity of the sort of like the whole was it mental illness, or was mental
Mhm.
illness the friends we made along the way. Like it just feels like that's sort of the I like the ambiguity of it. I don't need everything explained to me.
I do want to say that Meg was listening to this like by proxy of being in the living room while she was reading. And one of the last things that Peggy says, I had this thought in my head, and 2 seconds later, Meg looks up and she's like, "A man wrote that line." And it was just I forget what the line was, but it
Yeah,
was
definitely
something
it
like,
was a
you
man.
know what I'm talking about, right? It was like, oh yeah, yeah. It's like I'm a woman, I can change my mind whenever I want.
Yeah.
Like something like that. I can
Yeah,
always just
that's
change my
exactly
mind. And then we were
that's
both just like,
exactly
yeah,
what I
yeah,
thought.
a man definitely wrote that line.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh my
Oh
God, that's
wow,
so
visual
haunting.
audio, that's wild, dude. That's
It's fats.
wild,
all
dude.
right.
Okay.
I just had like a full blown power outage in my apartment, so
It's okay.
that's
This
where
is
that's where I was.
Fuck.
But I'm back now. I'm just
great.
gonna be all spooky like this.
Dude, this
This
is
is like
wild.
perfect. This is the
This
tone shift.
fucking
We went
crazy.
Corky
Yeah,
and Fats.
Nice.
This is
that's
exactly what
wild.
he looked like
Okay.
looking out that goddamn window.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Lake Mungo looking ass.
yeah, it does look like
Only
Lake
like half
Mungo.
my
That's so
face being
funny.
visible.
That's so funny. Okay, well, yeah, we'll finish this up. We just had power outage over on Matt's end, but we'll finish this up. We just finished up the movie. Now we will go into the ratings portion of the show. So we actually rate out of 6 on this show. So perfect
Okay.
score being 666. Ha ha ha. Anyway,
Hee hee hee.
and a
You
hee
forgot
hee.
that part.
So
Thank you.
so Austin, do you want to go first?
This movie's great. This movie fucking, oh my God. Like I'm gonna watch this probably
Yeah,
this week again. I'm not even joking.
yeah, that's great.
That is so much better.
There
That
you
is so
go.
less
Yeah,
scary. No, but
boom, fixed.
no, I'm gonna watch this probably like this week. Like it's short. It's like 90 minutes. It's like an hour and 47 or something like
Yeah,
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
yeah.
It's so tight. It's so quick. Um, it's just great. Like there's no fat to it, and then as quick as it is, you don't see where it's going. Like normally, the tighter a movie is, the more it's streamlined, and this is somehow like streamlined in an efficiency way, but they
Mhm.
somehow make the story even more elusive than a long 2.5 hour movie. And
Oh
I
yeah.
love how much depth is in here, but how quickly I can chew on it and just go on with my day.
Mhm.
Anthony Hopkins is great. Our lead is great. I feel really bad. I just watched the movie. I didn't write down the actors and actresses' names, but
Oh, and
it was
Margaret. And
Anne
Margaret.
Margaret.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew it was Anne or Margaret, and I'm glad that it's both because I
And it's
wasn't wrong
both.
either way.
Hyphenated right there. And
Uh,
Margaret. Yep.
but no, they're both great. This movie's wonderful. I like that it didn't go the weird supernatural route, but I like that it didn't not go that way. It's not in a lame way of like, well, this is up to your interpretation because I'm too lazy to write myself out of the corner
For
I did
sure.
halfway through the movie.
For
It's
sure.
genuinely just like you feel as crazy as Anthony Hopkins' character, as quirky. You feel your mind slipping like him until the very
Yeah.
end when it's just over. And then we do get that like, ooh, maybe a spooky Halloween sequel. And then it never happens. So it's like the movie ends with a gaslight. Because it's like, oh, did a sequel come out? Am I just insane? I can't find it anywhere. This movie's like a solid 6 out of 6. If it wasn't for like some of the like if they did more with Anne Margaret, which I would have liked, it would have been perfect. But like
Mhm.
other than that, I really like everything about this.
Oh yeah, 100%. What about you, Matt? What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I'd give this a 6. I was so pleasantly surprised about this. Again, yeah, solid performances all around. I love movies from the 70s and 60s
Mhm.
because kind of like you said, they don't play dumb to you. They lay it out there, and if you get it, you get it. But
Mhm.
they give you enough hints that they don't have to beat you over the head, and they're also not afraid to just end a movie or just end the scene. And I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It's kind of like an Easy Rider at the end, just the moment that happened. You just and then slow credits come up, and you're like,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit!
You're
So
like,
you're
what the
leaving us?
fuck?
Yeah, this one does that same thing too. It
Yeah.
does leave room for that sequel, but it doesn't because it's smart like that. So I would give this a full 6. Everybody's acting is great. I love that it's called magic, but it's about ventriloquism and that maybe haunted doll, but it's not a
Hmm.
haunted doll, and everything was just handled perfectly. Yeah, definitely a solid 6.
Hell yeah. So yeah, I fully agree. This is probably one of the new favorites that I found in doing this show. And it was my first blind pick. So shout out to Austin for I'm
Mm-hmm.
following in your shoes.
Nice.
But yeah, it took me by surprise, but it also again left everything in there about like magic and the craft of it and everything. Like again, I keep saying this is handled so like delicately by people who actually respect and love this craft and like see this as an art
Yeah.
form. And again, like the struggling magician type of thing in there in the beginning was just a really nice touch to add in this like that push and pull, why that would make that so interesting for someone who is trying so hard to achieve something that they're so afraid of actually achieving, you know.
You
But
Mhm.
know what I realized, Joey?
mhm.
This movie, why I loved it so much, this is everything I wanted and none of us got. Not everything we all wanted, but none of us got out of Fade to Black. This is just
That's
if
funny
Fade
you
to
bring
Black
up.
was really
Yeah,
good.
you bring up Fade to Black. That's so funny because that definitely reminded
Even
me
the intro,
of.
like that panning shot of his
Yeah,
room and all that shit. Like
yeah.
this is just one to one that, but
Yeah, for
effective.
sure. I would recommend, yeah, I'd recommend checking that one out, Matt. That's a really good movie too, Fade to Black.
Okay.
Very much a lot of
Fade to
themes
Black.
and similar themes for this one for
I think
sure. Yeah.
1980, so like right after
Right
that. Yeah.
after. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very, very
All right.
neatly yeah, interestingly played. But yeah, everyone in this movie, again, Anthony Hopkins, Sir Anthony Hopkins acting his fucking ass off and like everybody giving their
Hell yeah.
best for this. It's so, so good. The set design was great too. I love just the minimal like we're a cabin in the woods. That's it. Like, I'm like that's all I needed. It's a
Yeah.
great horror setting. It's written incredibly intelligently. Again, leaves a lot to the imagination, but and answers just enough questions for you to be like, oh, I got everything I needed. And then the little like
Mhm.
discoveries that we were making, even with like the way that the hand made the stab,
Yeah.
and how that was almost pretty much a callback to an earlier
Hmm.
line. Like, yeah, discovering little shit like that was just it was so good. And like, obviously, to the conversations about these movies, like, we usually tend to like them a little bit more, or in Chad's case, we like them a lot less, like, a couple of episodes ago. But yeah, this one firmly 6 out of 6. Yeah, this is just it is it's a masterpiece, if I've ever seen one. Like, there's so much like
Yeah.
auteurship going on in this movie. It's incredibly detailed, love letter to magic, to just the art of misdirection and stuff like that. It's so much fun, super fun. So I'm really glad we got to do this one. And again, I'm especially glad we got to do it with you, Matt. Thank you so much for
Yes,
coming
thank
on,
you.
man. This was
Yeah.
so much
I'm
fun. I
I'm
had
glad I
so
could
much
be
fun.
here having, power or no power. This was good.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting now for like some puppet to come up and like grab me,
Yeah,
yank me away from this.
I was really hoping that you were just committing to the bit of a magician and just mysteriously poofing away in a white cloud of smoke.
Just
Yeah.
You're just
slowly
like, nah,
fade
I'm
out.
done.
Bye,
Dip. Just
guys.
Just fade out. Yeah, so I wanna open up the floor though to you to please plug whatever you've got going on. This is gonna premiere in like I said, mid-December. So please, the floor is yours.
Cool. Yeah, I host a monthly magic show on the last Monday of every month, so that'll be December 30th then. And it's in Sherman Oaks at the Green Room. It's attached to the Higher Path Dispensary.
That's my
And so
favorite
this is
movie.
a 420 friendly show. It's a magic
Fuck yeah.
show. I bring a bunch of friends from the Magic Castle. It's only $15, and you get like a pre-roll
God,
and some
that's
edibles, and you sit and smoke and watch some of the best magic
I
and some of the
lost
best
my
magicians
mind
in LA.
when you first told me that. I was like, I need to be there now, my guy."
Yeah, it's
It's
it's really
incredible.
good. It's really good. And like a lot of these magicians, like the whole point why I wanted to start the show is that a lot of us, when we do private events, that's the only time you're going to see us, and you'd have to
Yeah.
pay a lot of money to hire some of these people, and
Mhm.
including myself. But for this show, it's open for the public. And when I would ever do magic for people, or do strolling events sometimes, and I ask somebody, "Do you want to see a magic trick?" They're like, "I don't really like magic." And then I show them something and they're like, that's incredible. I've never seen anything like that. And I realize it's not that they don't like magic, it's just that they've seen shitty magic all their lives. And so I'm
Fair.
like, I want to bring the best magic that you normally wouldn't get to see to regular people at a really, really affordable price. And I also love weed. So this was just
Amen.
perfect, right
Hell
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's so
you're
cool.
out here breaking the stigma that the Fushigi created, and I applaud you. I thank you for that.
Excellent. That's it's a mission now. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing too. Well, yeah. Anything else? Anything else you want to plug, please? Where can they find you?
Yeah. No, social media, Matt.Felton is my name. Follow Valley Magic Mondays. That's the page for the show. You can go to my website if you want to hire me for any events. Do that. It's mattfeltonmagic.com.
Hell yeah. We'll try and link everything in the
Yeah.
description for the video and everything. But yeah,
Cool,
I
cool.
appreciate you coming on, man. This was such a fucking good
Oh, this is
conversation.
awesome.
So much
Yeah.
fun. We
This
definitely
is
got to get you
so
back
glad.
at
I
some point.
probably wouldn't have seen the movie if it wasn't for this. So
That's
thanks
great,
for
man.
that.
You gotta
Oh,
we
yeah.
gotta have you back, because the first thing I told Joey when he brought you up, I was like, we got to do the Wizard of Gore, which is
Oh
like
yeah.
Herschel Gordon Lewis. I think he was like the guy that invented splatter films and like
Splatter films.
a big inspiration behind
Okay.
like Toby Cooper and stuff. But it's the craziest. Hey,
And we're back.
voila. No, but yeah, no, like that.
Cool.
Yeah,
Right,
if you
Wizard
come
of
back, we're
Gore.
doing Wizard of Gore. We're putting it down now. I think like
There you go.
68 or something, even older. It is a hard watch
Awesome.
because of the datedness,
Damn.
but to see a movie in the 60s be that gross, it's insane.
That's cool. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm actually excited for that one.
All
too.
I'm gonna say is he saws a woman and a half on stage, and magic ensues.
Come on, man. That's fun as hell.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Nice.
Hell yeah, dude. But yeah, well, so we will absolutely have you back again. I appreciate it so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much for
Oh, I
coming
had a
on.
blast. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. All right, you guys can find us on Facebook at the Devil's Work Podcast, Instagram at the Devil's Work Pod, TikTok Devil's Work Podcast. I always forget which one. It's either Devil's Work Pod or Devil's Work Podcast.
It comes up if you just look up the Devil's Work P. Because I know that much. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that's how I always look us up.
Anyway, so and we have our email set up. You can find us at the Devil's Work Podcast at gmail.com and email us with any movie recs or what you thought of the episode, anything we might have missed.
Also, be sure to privately DM all of us 50,000 times. It's really cool. We love it so much. We love it a lot.
Shout out to our
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love you.
Listeners.
I love you very much, and I appreciate that you listen to us. But like,
thank you
damn,
for ostracizing people.
It was one person, and she's very kind and sweet, and I thank you for listening to this.
Appreciate you. All right, you guys.
I'm trying to be Chapel Roan.
I don't
trying to be mean to the audience.
Damn it. Anyway, so I don't know what we're getting next week. We're kind of recording these in advance. I believe though, if my math is correct, I think we're doing Dead or Alive 3 next week. But if you see a different title come up,
that's the magic trick.
Exactly.
You're not gonna know.
That's the magic trick.
We got the big curtain right here, and we're gonna drop it in 2 weeks.
Misdirection.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, Matt, for coming on. You guys, we'll see you next time. Appreciate you.